Earlier this year, Tata had showcased the Nexon CNG at the first ever Bharat Mobility Expo. They launched the car earlier this month with a starting price of rupees 8.99 lakh, and today we have it. We're going to drive it and check it out. But we have been seeing the Nexon quite a bit since it was launched in this facelifted avatar in September 2023. And we've done a whole bunch of tests on the petrol, diesel and even electric. You can check that out in our YouTube playlist. So today we're going to focus on everything CNG in this Tata Nexon CNG. Let's jump straight into the facts and figures of the Tata Nexon CNG range. It is available in 8 variants, namely Smart Optional, Smart Plus, Smart Plus S, Pure, Pure S, Creative, Creative Plus and Fearless Plus S, which is what we have in our video today. With this, the Nexon range now has petrol, diesel, EV and CNG powertrain options across its wide portfolio. The wide range of variants means that you no longer feel like it's a compromise to buy a CNG powered car, as you get all the bells and whistles that Tata has for the Nexon. Some of that we will go over when we check out the interiors of the car. The engine in question is Tata's 1.2-litre turbo petrol, which in CNG guise produces 99 bhp and 170 Nm of torque and can be only had with a 6-speed manual transmission. The standard petrol engine produces 118 bhp and 170 Nm of torque. We expect that Tata will at some point bring in an AT option for this car, and that is expected to be the 6-speed AMT. One of the places that always takes a hit when you want to make a CNG powered car is boot space. After all, it is the largest open space available after the engine bay to place anything as big and as heavy as a CNG tank. Most of these cars have been designed with CNG to come later, which means that it can't be integrated into the body, and also it's quite large and quite heavy and has to share space with the fuel tank, which means that this is the most viable spot to put a CNG tank, and that had been an issue in the past when the CNG tank was large, right? Last year at the Auto Expo, Tata had showcased what it calls its twin cylinder technology, which is essentially it splits the cylinder into 2 equal parts, places it lower down, and that has come at the cost of the spare wheel, which is now tethered under the car like how you'd get on a body on frame SUV, like those old school SUVs. The wheel is tethered underneath, but you do get boot space. In this case, the standard car has 392 litres and this offers a maximum of 321 litres. That's like 84% of the boot space that you're still getting, and that's made a huge difference, especially in a car like the Nexon where the boot was pretty large and very usable. Now to take a look at the CNG tanks, you pick up this flap and there it is. You've got 2 CNG tanks split and placed underneath, 30 litres each. Now officially in standard petrol guys, this engine with this gearbox offers a claim mileage of 17.44 kmpl. Officially, Tata has not revealed a mileage figure at the time of making this video, but we had subjected the car to a real-world mileage test, and here are the results. In our real-world test, we got 11.65 in the city and 17.58 on the highway, giving us an average of 13 km per kg. This is a pretty decent figure considering the size and weight of the car. Here are the complete mileage figures for the Tata Nexon CNG. We've got behind the wheel of this Tata Nexon CNG, and it's one of those distinct things that Tata has been the first to market to. It was the first one to get the automatic with CNG. Now it's the first one to get turbo petrol with CNG, and we suspect that in the coming months with this car itself, it will be the first one to get turbo petrol automatic with CNG, which means it's more or less got its base covered. Now this is the same turbo petrol engine offered with the regular Nexon, and there it produces about 118 bhp and 170 Nm of torque. Here it produces 98 bhp and still produces 170 Nm of torque, and you get a 6-speed manual gearbox with it. In fact, we're talking about driving at 3-digit speeds for sustained periods in a CNG only mode, and you really won't have an issue. You can of course shift between CNG and petrol on the fly, but Tata has managed to get its tuning pretty good in terms of response from the CNG powertrain. You don't feel that lack of punch, and that's something that's very important, because for a long time it was always felt that going to a CNG mode or buying a CNG powered vehicle means you're going to lose that lack of performance in the name of mileage and being able to drive efficiently. You don't get to have fun. And the Nexon's inherent characteristics, it's 1.2 liter turbo petrol, great fun to drive, very rev happy engine. The DCA gearbox, while not all that great, especially when you compared to some of its rivals, but this manual gearbox, it's very involving, feels just marginally notchy, but that's maybe that's again something that you'll get used to. Now, this car is heavier, yes, but we think that the performance numbers, 0 to 100 and the roll-on times, they won't be all that far away from the standard petrol-only version, and that's again something that should work in Tata's favor. Now, when looking at the other aspects, Tata's always been known for ride quality. It's something that comes with their experience of making cars for 3 decades in India for Indians. The way that they understand road conditions, very few other manufacturers do. This thing rides really nicely, even though you have so much extra weight in the bank with the CNG tanks. They're placed lower, so better center of gravity, but even then they are extra weight. You don't feel that, you don't feel that extra stiffness that's needed to support this. It rides really nicely. You're not going to have a problem, and that is one of the abilities of the Nexon right from the beginning, that you don't need to slow down. It just crunches everything in its path and you can keep going without any problems. It's also got higher ground clearance to account for the fact that the tire is there underneath. They've had to take the tire out of the boot and hitch it underneath, like how you get an old school SUV. So they've had to increase ground clearance. The steering is light and easy to use, feels a bit overly assisted, but that also works in the car's favor, that with the additional mask, it masks the size, which means that it's easy to drive, easy to park, easy to make turns. However, while we say that it's easy to park, it's not so easy to judge the edges because of the curved roofline, so you don't get a great view out of the back, and you also don't get a great view out of the sides due to the thick C-pillars. But this top spec version that we are driving comes with a 360-degree camera, and that should help cause. We will of course put it through a detailed battery of tests when we get the car for a longer period to the Carwale garage and be able to give you more than just the real world mileage. We're talking about performance figures, weight, space inside, that kind of things. So stay tuned for that, and if you want to know any specific number or figure, you can let us know in the comment section below. We're here in the front seats of this Tata Nexon CNG, and like its diesel, electric and petrol siblings, it too gets the updated design language, and there's quite a few elements to catch your attention. The biggest one being these dual digital displays that are now part of the layout in this top spec model. They're both very clear, very nice to use, and really give the car a futuristic appearance. The other one is of course this nice two-spoke steering with this illuminated Tata logo in the middle. Now in terms of space, shoulder room, knee room, really not an issue, but headroom is slightly compromised because of the way the roof slopes forward to achieve that coupe SUV look that Tata wants. Especially if you're on the taller side, you are going to have some issues. They have managed to alleviate it a bit, especially on the top spec model where you get a dual pane sunroof. It adds a really nice touch to the vehicle. Now, while Tata has addressed these issues quite a bit, one of the things that they've not been able to address at the point of making this video is the oddities in the center console. One is this empty space here, which in the electric and the automatic versions is an electric parking brake. It's just an empty space here. The other one is this odd space ahead of where the gear lever is, the gear selector is. It's been an issue with the Nexon right from the beginning. It's an odd space to use. They put USB and a 12-volt socket here, but you can't really place anything inside. It's more of you just connect the wires and let it dangle elsewhere. The other thing is of course the placement of this handbrake, which sits towards the passenger, and at times it does compromise the space. The final thing that we'd want to point out is that this is an all black interiors. In some versions, you do get a two-tone interiors. The all black interiors, especially in the darkness, unless you turn on the lights, some of the elements are not visible at all. The other thing is, of course, this new climate control interface, which is really nice and futuristic to use, but doesn't have haptic feedback when you press any of the surfaces. And also, it's a gloss black surface, which looks really nice, but it's a dust and fingerprint magnet. I mean, that is one of the things of having a gloss black surface, especially in a market like India. We are here in the second row of this Tata Nexon with CNG power, and here are some of the major highlights. The second row also got an update when the Tata Nexon was updated last year, and some of the major things include rear AC vents, a USB-A and a USB-C charging port, really small bottle holders in both the doors, and that is something that's been there with the Nexon for a while now. I think Tata has had to make a little more space inside the cabin, so it's kind of pressed into the space for the bottle holders. You also get a center armrest with two cup holders, and you get headrests for the left and right occupants, but none for the center occupant. However, the center occupant does get a 3-point seat belt. The seats, of course, tip over, and you get access to the boot space. The fully loaded Fearless Plus S that we are driving in our video today has features like dual digital screens, 360-degree camera, ventilated front seats, climate control with rear AC vents, connected car technology, leatherette upholstery, power mirrors, power windows, and auto-dimming IRBM. All versions of the Nexon get 6 airbags, ABS with EBD, a traction control program, 3-point seat belts, and headrest for the 2 of the 3 rear occupants. And finally, before we sum up our experience with the Nexon CNG, let's have a brief overview of the exterior highlights of this car. Now, this car got updated in September 2023, most comprehensive update for the Nexon family. And the updates, the biggest change is that there's a completely new face. You get this large one-piece DRL that does a sort of light dance when you turn on the car. You get these new low-set headlamps that are a part of the new safety regulations. You also get a new bumper and these new, much brighter paint schemes that already make this funky-looking car stand out quite a bit. Now moving over onto the side, the overall shape of the Nexon has been retained. You still get those sharply rake roof lines to give it that coupe SUV stance, and some of the newer elements include the design for the wheels, the design for the ORVMs. It's now got the LED DRLs integrated into it. It's also got a 360-degree camera in the top spec model. You get roof rails and you get body colored door handles as a part of the deal. And finally, we come to the back of this Tata Nexon CNG, and there are quite a few highlights here to get your attention. The biggest one is that you get a one-piece LED tail light. It's now become a standard fitment of the Tata design language and gives the car a unique look. This is also the first and only place that you'll get a CNG badge, which means that if you're following the car, you know it's a Nexon CNG. What do you think of the design of the Tata Nexon CNG? Do let us know in the comment section below. And also, if you want Tata to make any changes, tell us about that too. We've spent some time with the Tata Nexon CNG and we'll sum up our experiences into pros and cons. So on the side of positives, one is the fact that you don't have to compromise in terms of variant or features, right? If you're ready to spend for a CNG and you want a fully loaded car, Tata has it on offer for you. In fact, they were the ones that started this trend with the Tiago, the Tigor, and the Punch also, and now of course the Nexon CNG, right? You get all the bells and whistles that Tata has for the Nexon, and you get it with CNG power, so that doesn't feel like a compromise. The other one that they have managed to address, and I think that's thanks to the turbo petrol engine, is the fact that taking CNG or going for CNG power doesn't mean you have to compromise on driving experience. Normally, that has always been the thought process that if I'm going for CNG, it's because I want mileage, it's because I want economy, I have to drive in a sedate manner. No, you can drive as you want, as you would drive with a normal Nexon with no loss of performance, with no loss of power. You will get the same amount of punch you will get with the petrol Nexon, albeit like marginally lesser, but the difference is very, very tiny because one, that's got the turbo petrol engine, and two, you have 170 Nm of torque. a significant amount for something that runs on CNG. In fact, it's one of the most powerful cars in that respect in the market today to offer that kind of CNG experience. It doesn't have an automatic, but we expect that the way Tata is going, with automatics for the Tigor and the Tiago CNG AMT, you could expect an automatic to come for this one. It may not be the DCT, it may just end up being the AMT, but a two-pedal option is a two-pedal option. That makes a difference. But one of the biggest pros, and this is something that will really play into Tata's hands, is the fact that it's giving you boot space with all of these features, all of this technology, all of this nice punchy driving experience. You also get boot space. Now, normally boot space is the one that always gets the hit when you want to run a car with CNG, because like we said, you need the second largest open available space in a vehicle to fit a CNG tank. It can't be the engine bay, so it has to go into the boot. And previously, because the tanks were large, they just consumed the entire boot, leaving you with little to no space. Last year, Tata introduced its twin cylinder technology, which means that it splits the cylinders and places it lower, and thus giving you boot space. 392 liters is the standard boot space what you get with a normal petrol car. 321 is what you get with this. It's not a very significant downgrade, and you do get a lot of space inside, and that is something that will help the car sell really well. On the side of cons, you have things like, this is, if you consider it, it's still a variant of the Tata Nexon, right? In their variant hierarchy, this comes in at some point, which means that there's not going to be anything drastically different from the other Tata Nexons that you're buying. And this comes with all of the, I would, for want of a better term, oddities that come with the Tata Nexon. The sharp curving of the roofline to achieve that coupe SUV stance means that your headroom and visibility is compromised inside. The build quality, fit and finish is inconsistent in some places. The OS, especially for the touchscreen system, has a tendency to hang occasionally. It has happened in the past, and there are still some software glitches, but these are all things that Tata will eventually address. So there you have it, our experiences with the Tata Nexon CNG. We will of course do a more detailed review once we get the car in the Carwale garage. And if you want to know anything at that point of time, do leave it in the comment section below. Also, what do you think of the car? Do let us know about that too in the comment section below. And finally, before we sign off, here's a little reminder. Are you enjoying the content of this channel and want to see more about cars like the Tata Nexon CNG? Then do hit those like, share and subscribe buttons, and also that bell icon to be notified the instant we put out a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.